Happy Monday, folks. Welcome to Talking March Madness with Miguel and Avery. Avery, first of all, how are you doing? How was your weekend?
I'm doing great. My weekend was very good, especially when it comes to March Madness and college basketball. It was a wild weekend, and definitely, just as we say, the madness occurred over the weekend.
Yes, yes. Friday was unbelievable. This weekend was good as well. Even though yesterday there were a lot of blowout games, but it was a good weekend. Colorado, Marquette. Oh man, Colorado was so close. That second half momentum. Samson and the Silva, they were on fire from downtown. This is a team that trailed by 11 points. First half, they were just not in it. They kept hanging on, but Marquette was playing good basketball, shooting well from the field. But in that second half, those two guys from Colorado, they just kept shooting and everything was going in. They caught fire, but Marquette did enough to come away with a victory. Um, Colorado was close; they were very close. But Marquette, as the number two seed, they came out on top. They avoided what happened last year when they lost to Michigan State, which prevented them from going to Sweet 16. But this is the first time since 2013, I believe, that they're going to the Sweet 16. The coach was very emotional, as you can see after the game. But this was a feel good victory, I should say, for Marquette as they move on. Tough loss for Colorado. They fought hard, they battled, but I respect their effort. I respect the hustle, and I hope this is not um the stop sign for them. They had to get better because from what I saw recently from this Colorado team, um, I want them to get better as a program.
I agree with you, Miguel. I mentioned it probably in our first video. When you have an institution where everything seems to be going right, you have people looking at that institution, even though people may not want to talk about it. When Deion Sanders got the job at Colorado, a lot of eyes went to that school. Even though they were all focused on football, eyes were on the school. So if you look at Colorado's season, very steadfast season. They had some ups and downs, but the fact that they fought to even get in the tournament, then they win their first four, then they go through, win their first round game, and nearly take out a team that held on in the Big East final, Marquette. Marquette earned that number two seed. So for Colorado, I agree with you. I hope this is not the last we see of Colorado, not only in the tournament, but producing really good players and seeing what they are capable of. We've seen this over the years. We've seen a team kind of, show up, put on a good show, and then, the basketball program kind of does an up and down. But we've seen some very good bright spots and seen where the basketball program has evolved. Gonzaga comes to mind. Arizona comes to mind, Kansas comes to mind. Those were basketball programs that were kind of, people weren't sure. But then once they start coming into the tournament, once they start, dominating their conference, you see those really good bright spots. But Marquette, they were better from the field. They shot 60 nearly 62%. Colorado only 47. Colorado did outscore them in the second half, but I think all those missed shots from the field was what did Colorado in. But you're right. This is probably a really great test for Colorado. And Colorado's probably going to look at this. They should be very, very proud of themselves to get this far in the tournament, to play as hard as they did, eyes on them to see, hey, these Colorado Buffaloes can play some really good basketball. So look to this program to see possibly making more recruitment to other areas of the country to bring in that talent to solidify their program. But Marquette, absolutely, Congratulations to Marquette. They are on to the Sweet 16 and a very hard-fought victory.
And what can we say about the biggies? We have Marquette, UConn, and Clemson. Those three going to the Sweet 16, making history. The ACC as well. They have like what 4 teams now. You have Duke,
You
you
have
have
Duke, you have North
Clemson,
Carolina, and you have Clemson.
which we're gonna talk about right now. But we have Duke, North Carolina, Clemson. I'm missing one more. There's four. There's four. That is ACC.
North Carolina State.
NC State. There we go.
The
NC
champions.
State.
The conference
The champions,
champions.
yep.
How are we forgetting the conference champions?
I know, right? But yeah, ACC and Big East, they're making noise this year in the tournament as we narrow down to the final, to the 16, Sweet 16. Now, Clemson, Baylor. Clemson almost blew it. They almost blew it. We saw how dominant they were against New Mexico, but this is Baylor we're talking about. They almost blew it in the second half. Turnovers, foul trouble. Baylor, unfortunately, too little too late for them. But ever since they won it all in 2021, it has been a roller coaster for them. As for Clemson, they did enough to win this game. But I will tell you this, Avery. Clemson, they're going to go up against, I believe, is Arizona. Is it Arizona?
Yes,
Yes,
they
Arizona.
are going against Arizona, and I think that could be their toughest test yet. I thought Baylor was going to be their test, but they are going to play Arizona. And like I said, when you get these teams that get into the tournament and all of a sudden their program gets solidified by making good runs, making it to the Sweet 16, the Final Four, a championship game, then winning a championship game. Arizona is going to look at Clemson and say, hey, we're not going to take you lightly. We know you can play. So bring it.
Yeah, and let me add this. I feel that this victory over Baylor was a statement from Clemson saying, you know what, we can compete with top 3, top 4 teams. We can do it. Arizona will they will challenge them, but Clemson is not going to back down. I mean, this victory over Baylor was huge because Baylor is not a scrub. It's not a scrub team.
No,
So,
no.
it's hard. It's hard to win the tournament because we got to remember, it's one game. You lose, you're out. This is not a playoff series. This is one game. And that's why I choose March Madness over regular NBA because NBA is too predictable. We know who's going to go all the way if nobody gets injured. But in this tournament, anyone can be beaten in one game. That's the unpredictability that I love about sports.
Absolutely.
Listen, we're in for some very fascinating matchups in Sweet 16. We have Clemson and Tennessee. We have Clemson, Arizona. We have Duke and Houston.
NC State and Marquette, which I think is going to be a fabulous game. Remember, NC State is the ACC champion. Somewhere, and I've had this thought, especially since they won, since North Carolina, the Wolfpack won the tournament. Somewhere Jimmy V is smiling. Somewhere Jimmy V is absolutely ecstatic with what this team is doing. I think the Wolfpack really, really wants to prove that not only winning the ACC title, but they are bringing back the momentum from those days when Jimmy Valvano was there. They want to do that. They want to showcase that excitement. They want to showcase that when you play them, you have to be very wary of what team shows up. Is it going to be a very physical team? Is it going to be a very shooting team? Are they going to go downtown a lot? And that's again what we're saying, why we love college basketball, why we love March Madness. You look at a game on paper and you think, oh, the analytics say that this team is going to win, this team's going to win. So I thought about it before we started recording. I have 8 brackets that I had for the men's tournament. Only 4 are good. Only 4 are good because you have teams that, analytics say, oh, you'll kind of be okay, but once the second half starts, the higher seed is going to pull away. And just like you saw, with Clemson and Baylor, Clemson was in control the entire game, and it's like they just lost the momentum because they thought, okay, we're in control, so we're not going to play as hard. But look at every single team, every single game that's played. Yes, we've seen some blowouts, but even in the blowouts, you've seen these teams really, really try and hang in it. So, you stated that you thought James Madison was going to give Duke a test. Duke decided, you know what? James Madison, really respect you, but we're just gonna pound in the paint. We're just gonna get these rebounds. We're just gonna take every shot we can, and it ended up running away with them. So every
Duke picked
team
them
that's still
apart.
in it, Duke picked them apart. Even I was surprised. I thought James Madison was going to keep it close. I thought maybe Duke was going to win by like 5 and ended up winning by like 30, I believe. 35, I believe. So you even have these teams that are keep it close, and all of a sudden you have a team that just runs away with it. So just as we're saying with the Sweet 16 games that are coming, it's going to be really, really exciting, later this week. So just like we said, NC State Marquette is, an interesting game. Clemson and Arizona is going to be a really good game. Another good game, and honestly, I'm going to go ahead and apologize right now. Gonzaga and Purdue. I thought Purdue was not going to make it this far. Purdue had a really, really up and down season. I think they were ranked number 1 like 4 times this season. You really were not sure what Purdue Boilermaker team was going to show up. But they played a really good tournament so far. They've made it into the Sweet 16. They're playing Gonzaga. So that's going to be a really good game because on paper, these teams are very evenly matched. And another game you mentioned, Creighton, Tennessee. I see that being close too. But even at the Sweet 16, you still see these very, very interesting matchups, very entertaining as well on paper, but you still have the opportunity to make an upset. And I believe North Carolina State, ranked 11th, is that team that can say, hey, oh, we really want to pull an upset. Because right now at 11, I mean, they're the surprise right now, and they're conference champion. They're conference champion.
I'm gonna end this with 2 things. Number one, Duke knows that they're being disrespected. They know it. And if they beat Houston, things are gonna get serious. Very serious. That's number one. Number two. Actually, it's 3 things. Number two. Gonzaga and Purdue, they're one of those, it's been long overdue. Can you guys win it all? So that's number two. Number three, and by the way, Zach Edey is playing like the old school big man. I'm loving it. So, and number three, I call this game, this is redemption for us. And that is San Diego State, UConn. I respect UConn, and yes, they're favorites, and they're looking very, very dominant. But I really want San Diego State to win. I like that team. I like that coach. I like the camaraderie. I really want that team to win. This is, I mean, you lost in the final in the national title game. This is Sweet 16, so you're getting them early in this. So I really want them, and they know it because they said in the post game, that they still have a bitter taste in their mouth from last year. So they want this. You want it, you have them.
You're
So I
exactly
can't
right.
wait. I can't wait for
You,
that one.
you're exactly right. When teams want it badly, even if no one else gives them a chance, when teams want it badly, the players will rally around themselves. The coach will inspire their players, and you will see some really great basketball out of these young men and women because the women's tournament is just as crazy. But the men's tournament is just out of control right now in a good way, in a good way, because these all these games are must see because at this point it's when you look on paper, it doesn't mean anything. The numbers don't mean anything, and I'm a numbers person. So it's just great to see all these young men and women show up, are hungry for that title. And when you see these teams give it their all, come back, the amount of overtime games we've had is exciting in and of itself. If a game is close, then all of a sudden it's gone to overtime. Oh, well, it's just getting better. It's just getting better. So Houston had an overtime game. Now they're playing Duke, and just like you said, Duke knows they've been given the shaft. They've been given the shaft. They lost to North Carolina State. North Carolina State ends up being the ACC champion. Duke gets to the tournament. They end up being a fourth seed, which is commendable. But now you this is a totally different team. Some of these teams are just totally different. Their mindset has changed once the tournament starts. And as you get further into the tournament, then you see how hungry everyone is. And when they get hungry, wow, we're going to see some good basketball. We have to wait a few days. We have to wait a few days, but that's okay. That's okay because we're going to see some fantastic basketball. See, I'm already thinking about basketball. See, I'm already thinking about football season because everything is so good right now. But we're going to see some really great college basketball. We're going to have to wait a little bit, but we are in for a treat. We are in for a treat.